Right, inshallah. Let's get started. Inshallah, hopefully everyone is well. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن أبي ذر رضي الله عنه قال قلت يا رسول الله أوصني قال عليك بتقوى الله فإنه رأس الأمر كله. قلت يا رسول الله زدني قال عليك بتلاوة القرآن فإنه نور لك في الأرض والذخر لك في السماء. رواه ابن حبان. Hazrat Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu says that he requested Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to give him some lasting advice. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, cultivate the fear and reverence of Allah in your heart, because this is the root of all virtuous deeds. I asked Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam to add something more. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, stick to the reading of the Quran, because it is a nur in this life and a provision in the hereafter. Hazrat Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu says that he requested Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to give him some lasting advice. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, cultivate the fear and reverence of Allah in your heart, because this is the root of all virtuous deeds. I asked Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam to add something more, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, stick to the reading of the Quran, because it is a nur in this life and a provision for the hereafter. Commentary. The fear of Allah is the root of all good actions. A man whose heart is filled with fear of Allah does neither commit any sin nor experience any difficulty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَل لَّهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. And for those who fear Allah, He prepares a way out and He provides for him from sources he could never imagine. Some of the foregoing narrations also disclose that the Quran is illuminating. In Sharh al-Ihya, Hazrat Abu Na'im rahmatullah alayhi states that Hazrat Basit radiallahu anhu is reported from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that the house in which the glorious Quran is read shine unto the inhabitants of the heaven as do the stars shine unto the inhabitants of the earth. This hadith, which has been quoted from Targhib, is only a part of a long hadith reported from Ibn Hibban by Mullah Ali Qari rahmatullah alayhi in detail and by Suyuti in brief. Although the above mentioned part of the hadith is sufficient for the purpose of this book, yet the entire hadith includes many essential and useful subjects, and inshallah we can read it at a different time, inshallah, although the full hadith is mentioned here. But we have previously read it. Inshallah, we were just looking to touch upon the virtues of the Quran, especially this month of Ramadan, which is the month of the Quran. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ما اجتمع قوم في بيت من بيوت الله يتلون كتاب الله ويتدارسونه بينهم إلا نزلت عليهم السكينة وغشيتهم الرحمة وحفتهم الملائكة وذكرهم الله في من عنده. رواه مسلم وأبو داود. Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, never do a people gather in one of the houses of Allah, the masajid, reciting the Quran and reading it out to one another, but sakina, tranquility, descends upon them, rahmah, mercy, enshrouds them, the angels throng around them, and Almighty Allah mentions them in the assembly of angels. Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, never do a people gather in one of the houses of Allah, reciting the Quran and reading it out to one another, but sakina descends upon them, rahmah enshrouds them, the angels throng around them, and Almighty Allah mentions them in the assembly of angels. This hadith describes the special virtues of religious schools and institutions. Acquisition of either reward mentioned above is so sublime that even if one devotes his entire life to acquire it, it will be worthwhile. But here there are so many rewards, especially the last one, mentioned in the court of Almighty Allah, and remembrance in the company of the beloved are bounties that can hardly be surpassed. So what is the last one is that Almighty Allah mentions them in the assembly of angels. So Allah starts talking about and mentions this person. Ji, assembly where a lot of people gather, where many people gather. So like that is the assembly of angels where many angels are gathered. And Allah is talking about the people who are reading Quran to the angels. He's telling the angels about them. Descending of Sakina has been mentioned in many ahadith. The scholars of hadith have interpreted its real significance in many ways. The various interpretations, however, do not contradict each other and can be meaningfully put together. Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu has interpreted Sakina as a special breeze which has a face like that of a human being. Allama Suddi rahmatullah alayhi is reported to have said that it is the name of a large golden dish in paradise, used for washing the hearts of the Anbiya, peace be upon them all. Some have said that it is a special form of mercy. Tabari rahmatullah alayhi prefers the view that it means peace of heart. Some interpret it as grace, others consider it as dignity, and some take it to mean angels. So these several topics which were covered that Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam for some advice. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told him, hold fast to the fear of Allah. Alayka bi taqwallah, that fear Allah. Cultivate the fear and reverence of Allah in your heart, because it's the root of all virtuous deeds. So this is again also what Ramadan demands from us. That a person through fasting he gains taqwa, that through the night he gains a connection to the Quran. Alayka bi tilawat al-Quran, hold fast to reading of the Quran, because it is a nur in this life, it is light for you in this life, and provision for the hereafter. So again, these themes are coming again and again, so that we take lesson what is demanded from us. What are these principles, through which we have to live our lives? There was one brother who came and he was asking me, what is the financial system which Islam endorses, so to speak? Is it capitalism? Is it socialism? What is it? And I said, well, Islam doesn't mention there's certain types of transactions which are prohibited, but generally what has not been prohibited is permissible. So is it permissible to deal in a capitalist system? It's possible, it's permissible, it's not forbidden. Is it permissible to people they share some amount of wealth? It's permissible unless they're doing something which is inherently and specifically prohibited. But what differentiates the Muslim's dealing with anyone else is that the Muslim has iman. He has faith. He's not looking for the gains of this world, or he's not exclusively and limiting his gains only to the gains of this world. Rather, he's more concerned about the hereafter. So even if he is gaining something in this world, but we see other ahadith that says that it's not permissible for a person who believes in Allah to go to sleep filled, satisfied, while his neighbor is hungry. So this type of thing will drive his behavior, that he'll say that, look, I'm doing good, but my neighbor is starving. He's not making any money. So he's not going to look how to put his neighbor out of business. He'll say that, look, how can my neighbor also make something so that he can take care of his family. A person will not just look about lining his pockets. He's saying, he gave the example, Jeff Bezos, he's made a whole bunch of money. And in the pandemic, some businesses really flourished. And, they made such money as they weren't able to make outside of the pandemic. Okay, so he's worth what? Rounded up to 200 billion. If he, imagine if someone was giving zakat, Amazon has been generally, free of having to give any taxes anywhere. They're making a lot of money, but not giving taxes. If someone was giving zakat, then on a yearly basis, out of 200 billion, how much zakat is he giving? He's giving $5 billion in zakat every year. So this temperament remains with him, that how can my dealing with Allah remain clean? And how can my rights to the people remain clean so that they don't have any claim against me on the Day of Judgment? This is what Deen, what Islam demands from us. That whatever you do, look out for your akhirah. Hold fast to the fear and reverence of Allah. Not just the fear that Allah can punish us. Yes, He can. But you also have reverence for Him. That what a powerful being He is. The love of Allah for how much He has given us. So all of these things sort of are included within it. The big, that heading of taqwa, which is not just piety, is not just the fear of Allah, but it's guarding ourselves against the wrath, the anger of Allah. And how? Through whatever means possible. A person does not, although my kids, every kids probably have they have good reason to fear their father, because if he goes into a rage, then he could probably do something. But it's not a question of just that, because they have reverence for their father, they have respect for their father, they have love for their father. That I don't want to displease my father, I don't want to displease my mother. Maybe the mom is not able to, dish out the same amount of wrath as the father, but they still have reverence and love for their mother. So all of these things come up within the heading of taqwa, but we should have it in a much, much higher degree for Allah, because He has given us what our parents cannot give us, and He is able to do what no one is able to do. So this is the main guiding factor in the life of the Muslim: taqwa, fear of Allah, saving oneself from the disobedience of Allah, finding oneself in the obedience of Allah. May Allah give us the tawfiq to bring this into our lives in Ramadan and keep it in our lives after Ramadan and throughout the rest of our lives. Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanaka wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. खदीजा, आप भाग गए, किसी को सलाम नहीं कर रही हैं?